KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're
the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Welcome
morning,
to a
guys.
beautiful Saturday morning. What a gorgeous day out there, and what a gorgeous day inside as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm especially excited today about the guests we have on. We have Shad Bogany, who is, I can't know how many hats he's wearing right now, but he is the chairman for the Texas Association of Realtors. He's a past chairman for the Houston Association of Realtors. He has been involved with all sorts of programs for the state.
This guy's got more acronyms behind his name than I've seen in any guest in a while.
So, Shad, welcome this morning.
Thanks, Rat Pack.
You got all of the initials.
And not only that, in his spare time, he also does another radio show on a station KWWJ 1360 AM. Now, our subject today, Chris, and you were kind of inspired me because you did a down payment assistance program. And then we started talking, there's a lot of things out there that people need to know about programs out there that'll help them get in a home. Tell me a little bit about that.
You're absolutely right. One of the things is the market's been a very strong market past couple of years. It's been an extremely strong market for the past 10 years in regards to down payment assistance programs. And most people don't realize is there's a lot of down payment assistance programs available to you here in Houston. Whether it be Seth, where we're going to talk about here in a few moments with Southeast Texas Housing, or you've got TDHCA, or a whole host of other types of products out there. And the one thing is even the city of Houston has them. And most people don't understand what exists, how they work, what is entailed by them. I mean, we talked about MCC before the show came on. And so that's really what it's about today, is just talk about what's going on not only in real estate, but how you can get a hold of and apply for some of these great programs and how they truly work in conjunction with purchasing real estate.
I did have a question, because
Well, I hope you have at least
admittedly, admittedly, I know very little about the down payment assistance program. So I'm probably a good prototype of a person running around out there in the market that knows nothing about this program. From a philosophy standpoint, what was the point of the program in the first place? Why? I know you had worked a lot with some of the creation of a lot of the programs that are out there. So what was the motivation behind the programs in the first place? Why did the state look at introducing those, or the city for that matter, I guess?
Well, first of all, Joe, you got to keep in mind that Texas ranks 45th in the country in home ownership. So how do you have a state that is affordable and 45 ranked out of 50 states?
Something isn't adding up there.
Something's really not adding up. And so, we create wealth for individuals by home ownership. I don't know anybody makes their money, they go put it in real estate. Mm-hmm. So we've got to start building stable neighborhoods. Kids do better when their parents own a home. It's crime is less when there's more homeowners there. And so the state felt like we needed to start putting more people in the houses. A lot of it started with President Bush when he was governor. Then President Bush went to and started doing a lot of faith-based marketing and trying to get more people in the houses, and money has come down. So it's an opportunity for someone to build wealth for their family.
Let's talk about, you were involved with the Texas Department of Housing for about 7 years, and you put together a program called MCC. Well, talk a little bit about that and maybe some of the other programs that have come through the state.
Mortgage credit programs, MCC, is a super program. What it does is it gives the buyer a tax credit. For those who are listening, give you an idea, if you are a mom or a parent and you've got a tax credit for school, for daycare, it's the same thing. It's not a deduction, it's a tax credit. So typically most tax credits are about $2,000 for the whole year. And so what happens is that if you were getting $1,000 back on your taxes, you would get now $3,000 back on your taxes. So and a lot of the lenders will also use it as income because they divide it by 12, so you got $166 a month income. It is the best affordable housing program out there. If you remember, President Obama had the $8,000 tax credit. Well, this is better because this is the life of the loan as long as you're paying interest on it. And so it's much stronger.
Kind of revenue neutral to the state then at that time as well.
Right. The state doesn't make a whole lot of money. Affordable housing, like I said on Fort Bend Housing Finance Board, we don't make a lot of money, but it keeps things flowing and it keeps opportunities available. It takes a 5% interest rate, for example, and brings it down to an effective rate of almost 3%.
Oh, my. And what are the qualifications for a loan like that?
Most of these programs are based on how many people in your household and what your income is. So usually 65 for a single person, somewhere between 60, 65 for a single person. And when Seth comes on, I know they are part of that MCC program. I'm sure she can give you the fine details of it.
And tell me what other programs you've seen that have been very effective in there. I know the city of Houston has done one where they were trying to help police, firemen, and teachers. You maybe talk a little bit about that and the other programs that are like that.
Well, T-Shack had a program with fire policemen, and what they were trying to do is get these service providers to live back in the communities, in the neighborhoods. And so they would get a low interest rate plus down payment assistance for these particular programs. The same way with teachers, trying to get teachers to live near the schools that they have. The city of Houston probably has the most successful program, which gives up to $30,000 grant program for these particular areas. $30,000 is a lot of money for a first-time home buyer. What they're doing with that program, saying they got all these abandoned lots, Rob, out here, no taxes are being paid on it. So they get a builder to build a house, give a $30,000 grant to a home buyer who now the property becomes taxable. So now you got a taxable property. So they're trying to build the tax base.
Yeah, that's been very successful. Is that through Laura at the city?
Laura did the lot purchasing, but it's through the city down payment assistance program. Now, they are making some changes in that program, and you guys will get it fresh off the press. HUD has come in, guys, and said you're giving too much money. So what they're going to do is now deduct any money that you've been given, or whether it's appraisal, credit reports, anything that's been done in the transaction, they're going to subtract from that $30,000. So the only money you'll get, so no one will really get 30 anymore. You may get 20, and this starts place in the next week or 2 weeks.
And how's that work? Essentially, they will actually put $20,000 down. Is there any other money that's needed from the buyer?
Buyer normally has to have at least 3.5% into the deal. They don't need it for the closing, but they've got to have at least 3.5% into the program itself. But mostly buyers that get this money can move in for $1,000, but they had to have at least 3.5% money saved.
Okay. And Chris, you did that deal we did for Mr. Danny Frank and his buyer. What was that program?
You know, that was one of the bond programs. Actually, you know, you also have some of the like Program 79 out there. Part of 77, some of the extra money out there. So it was one of the bond programs. And, you know, and one thing is always very interesting, and I tell everybody all the time, is there are a lot of different programs. And what you have to really look at is which program works best for that individual. Because there's a lot of different things you can do out there. In fact, one of the deals that we got probably about 6 months ago, believe it or not, there's a program that HUD offers that allows police officers to get into a home with about 50% off of that property. And the reason why is because what they're trying to do is bring in, as Shad was saying, individuals into certain areas of town that will allow them to repopulate areas that need to be built back up and give them a huge discount to do so.
Yeah, what's better than having a police officer for your neighbors?
Absolutely.
It makes great neighbors, absolutely. Well, there's a huge amount of programs. How do you know which ones to use? I mean, where do you go find them all?
Well, sure, the lender will say you come to us. I'm going to tell you, you go.
Uh-oh, Chris. Look.
No, well, I'm sure Chris would, but what I found the best source is really your realtor. And then the realtor can sit down with you and tell you, you say, hey, I'm going to live in Fort Bend, so he knows to go to Fort Bend. He's going to go to Southeast Houston and says, hey, I'm going to go, you need to go to Seth. So I think the realtor is where it all starts, because we know most really good realtors who are professionals know these different programs. So once you have that consultation with your buyer, you send them over here, you send them over there. So there's several places to send, because everybody's not moving in the city of Houston. So
right.
If you're moving to Fort Bend, you're moving out to Beaumont or Baytown, you got to be able to know those different
and
programs.
I think that's some of the misunderstandings out there. A lot of people think everything that's for down payment assistance and special programs are all inner city. They're not.
They're not.
They're all over the city, which is really good. And I want the listeners out there to know that Shad knows what he's talking about. He did about 110 transactions last year. Not all affordable housing, because he looks at every client as, you know, what
Man,
is this
we're
person
lucky.
need? Yeah,
We're lucky. We brought him on, and actually somebody knew who they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That could have went horribly wrong.
What a shot. And he was, for several years, I know he's been in Houston Business Journal's top 25. So this man knows what he's talking about, and he is my go-to guy when I want to know about things about affordable housing programs, because that's how I get exposed to it. It's being around other professionals. So if I'm going to consider a down payment assistance, my first start is with you. Is that correct?
Right. You go to the realtor first, and you interview the realtor when you meet with them. Do you know anything about down payment assistance? If they say no, then you need to keep moving.
Seems simple.
I'm catching a pattern here.
You've got to interview those realtors because everybody's knowledge is different. Some people don't do a whole lot of it. And then a lot of realtors have been certified by TAR. We have a certification program, and that they go through and learn all these different programs. So you need to ask. You really need to sit down and just interview your realtor. Hey, I'm looking for some down payment assistance. Well, I don't know. And we all think that the big three banks are the only ones that have this money, but there are other lenders, like our lender here today from Willow Bend. I mean, there are other lenders out here that know these programs, know them extremely well. And one thing I would share with everybody is that these programs are not infinite. They're finite. When they run out of money, they're out of money.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about having a house built with this program, it may be there and it may not be there by the time it's finished.
And that's a good
That's a
good
really
point
good
to
point.
put out right there. Is one of the things most people have to realize is these are bonds. Technically speaking, all these are bond programs, right? So what happens is their respective organizations put together a bulk of money, and that money is available based on a certain whatever down payment, interest rate, etc. And when that money goes away, you're right, it goes away. So it's important to know, and I would agree with you, contrary to popular belief, I think it does start with the realtor perspective. You have to go with an agent who knows down payment assistance, who knows how to work the area, who knows what you're going to qualify for, and then they'll put you in touch, obviously, with the great lender at that point to be able to work with. And then also understanding is how to negotiate, the time frames a lot of times, because if you're going to go through one of the programs, it's not necessarily a 30-day close or a 2-week close. You have to give yourself some time, especially if you have to do any home buyer training that's required on those. And then lastly, as we talk about is you have to check and see what available funds are available, because it used to happen this way is all of a sudden they'd run out and you qualified somebody for a program which there's no more funds. So
Let's talk about credit scores and things like that. The lending industry, of course, is very driven by that. What credit scores can you get somebody into a house?
I've seen as low as 580.
Oh, my.
And typically, if you're doing a 580, you got to put more money down. And so, but I've seen as low as 580 credit scores and up. But if you go to like the city program, it's 640 up. The Harris County program has always been at least 620. You got to at least have I don't care if you can get 580 approved, you still got to be 620 to get their money. So each program is different.
And of course, if there are some credit issues, you can always call our good friend here, Joe, with Improve My Credit USA.
Shameless
to help
plug.
you.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes, I know. I expect
I
that
happen to
lunch
know
later.
a couple people that can help with that.
Yes. So with the down payment assistance, what other type of affordable programs are out there? And they're not all just down payment assistance. There's other types of programs there where people have special interest rates and things of that nature.
Well, you have the bond programs, which are lower interest rates. You have the MCCs, which we talked about earlier, and then you have the down payment. And Seth, who you had coming in a few minutes, have a program that kind of almost combines all three of those programs together. It's really key that you go to the right lender, too. If you ask a lender, I can do them, and I'm signed up, but he's never done one, that is a nightmare waiting to happen.
Waiting to happen.
Are you speaking from experience on
I'm
that?
speaking from experience.
Oh,
Shad,
my.
we're coming up on a break, and I want to make sure that folks know how to get a hold of you.
You can call me at 713-667-1000. I work over at Beverly Homes and Gardens, Gary Green in the Bel Air Center. You can call me 713-667-1000. Guys, I want to really thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
and we're going to have to.
we're not letting you go yet. You can stay on for the lightning round a little bit later.
He's already cutting out.
For all those listening, we are coming up against a break again. We want to hear from you. You can call us at 800-808-5548. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I live in a tiny closet, a lukewarm cold water.